then Lauren, let us know when.
All right, I started the recordings. Have a good meeting, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. So thank you all for being here with us today for ACRL instruction sections orientation to instruction section. This is brought to you by the membership committee. It's our second time hosting orientation in this format, and we're really excited to have you all here today. To give you an overview of who you're hearing from today and who you'll be speaking with, I'm Karna Younger. I'm the instruction section membership committee chair, and I'll let everyone introduce themselves. If Susanna, you want to start?
Sure. Hi, I'm really happy to see so many people here today. My name is Susanna Eng-Ziskin, and as you can see, I am the current instruction section chair. And I also just wanted to thank the membership committee for setting this up. I think it's great.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nikhat Ghouse. I'm the vice chair for the instruction section. And thanks again for the committee for setting up this meeting.
Hi everybody, my name is Bill Condon. I'm on the IS membership committee, the orientation subcommittee, and welcome all. Hope you learn a lot today.
Hi, I'm Marlinda Cairo, and I'm on the IS committee as well. Welcome.
And I'm Katie Haug, and I am on the IS membership committee and the orientation subcommittee, and was kind of the cat wrangler for this to happen. So thank you all for coming out and participating.
All right. Well, thank you so very much to our chair and our vice chair for being with us today. And I think especially to Bill and Katie and Marlinda for putting this all together. Really appreciate your hard work. So today, just to give you an overview of what we'll be doing, first we're going to talk about instruction section within ACRL in general. Then we're going to move on to take a deeper dive into the structure of IS itself, executive committee and its roles, and then we're going to help you better understand and navigate how to get involved with IS or even ACRL more generally, and provide you with some resources that we have found have really helped us navigate instruction section as new members and continuing members. And then we're hoping to have just a good conversation with you all about any questions you may have about IS. So to give you an idea, and I'm going to be very brief with this, instruction section is under the umbrella of ACRL, which is under the umbrella of ALA. And ACRL, as you probably know, focuses on college and research libraries, so university and college libraries. And it's the largest division of ALA with more than 12,000 members in ACRL. And I won't read this whole diagram to you, but you can see the second from the bottom under ACRL are sections. And that's where instruction section fits in. We're one of the 15 sections there. So I'll let Susanna take you deeper here.
And I'm just excited that I remembered to unmute myself. So you can see, hopefully, that we have about 3,800 members currently. We tend to sit somewhere around 4,000 members generally. We are the second largest section within ACRL, behind only the university library section. So, and I will just say that we rely on our membership to be able to do everything that we do. So we don't take for granted all of our members. Not everyone is a volunteer, which Nikhat will talk about a little bit later, but we really do rely on our membership. Everything we do really is for that. Next, I just wanted to go over, just in case you aren't familiar with it, our organizational scheme, if you will. You can see we have a couple of boxes there. We have a lot of standing committees for which we're always looking for volunteers every year, because I don't think that we have closed captioning. I'm gonna, well, although it's up there, but I'm gonna read all the committees really quickly, bear with me. We have our communications committee, our Dudley Award, our discussion group steering committee, Framework Sandbox is a shorthand for our Framework for Information Literacy Sandbox Committee, information gathering and exchange, information literacy best practices, information literacy in the disciplines, innovation award, instruction for diverse populations, instructional technologies, management and leadership, membership, mentoring, nominating, primo, research and scholarship, Rockman Publication Award, and teaching methods. What I will say is that the list is not static. Our standing committees. We do kind of evaluate and reevaluate what our committees do, and we'll occasionally either add or even remove some committees, just kind of based on our evaluations. This year, for example, we actually split. We used to have only one awards committee, and we split it into three for a variety of reasons. One of which was it was just too much work for one committee to do, so we were putting a lot of labor on those volunteers. And splitting it into three also allowed for additional volunteer opportunities. Additionally, our Framework Sandbox Committee is completely new to us as well. So that's what it looks like right now. It may look different in a few years, but you get an idea of some of the things that we're working on. We also have task forces. Those tend to be short-term, limited task forces with a very specific charge to do a very specific thing. The ones that we currently have are our Diversity and Inclusion Task Force and Building Virtual Community. The Building Virtual Community came into being when IS went completely online to try to kind of advise us how best to navigate our new reality, being an online-only section. And then in terms of leadership, we have kind of the Advisory Council, which is an umbrella organization or an umbrella council that includes our executive committee, I'll talk about in a moment, our committee chairs and vice chairs, because each committee does have both a committee chair and vice chair, the task force chairs, as well as our ex officio members. That tends to be our administrators, like our committee list administrator, our web administrators, our newsletter editors, our director of LOX. So that kind of is the membership of the advisory council, which serves as an advisory board for essentially the section. So finally, this kind of slide talks a little bit about our executive committee, the leadership committee. There are, as you can see, 9 elected positions. I'm going to start at the bottom. 4 of the positions are members at large positions. They have 2-year staggered terms and they're members of the executive committee. In addition, we have elections also for vice chair. And the vice chair, after 1 year of vice chair, cycles and becomes the chair and then becomes the past chair. And then we also have an election for secretary, who in their 2nd year will also become the archivist. So the membership on the executive committee changes every year as people cycle on and off. I will say that Nikhat's going to talk about volunteering for committees, but I just also want to add a plug to consider eventually running for one of these positions. You can see we have some that are 2-year, some that are 3-year. It's a great experience. It's incredibly fulfilling. You'll learn a lot about the section and everything that we do when you're on it. Essentially, the executive committee provides direction for the attainment of the objectives of the section, and each member of the executive committee is a liaison to one or more of our different committees, and we try to help guide the chairs and the vice chairs of the committees in any questions that they have, and help in any way we can. So that's about it, I think, for executive committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Nikhat. I'm the vice chair of the instruction section, and as Susanna mentioned in the previous slide, next year I'll be the chair. In the meantime, and I'll be working with Susanna as past chair in the near future, months away, thankfully. So that is our current, this slide talks about who is our current executive committee roles. And as current vice chair, I will be making appointments, and I'm also working with the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force on an Emerging Leaders Project. I get to write a couple of reports to that end, and then if there's any gatherings at ACRL, we'll be in attendance there in 2021. And think that call will be coming out for proposals in a few months, or that deadline is in a few months. Otherwise, attending just representing instruction section at ACRL virtually. But the important reason I'm here, if you will go to the next slide, please, is to look for volunteers for the instruction section. The call for volunteers remains open through next Friday, February 14th. I thought that was lovely. So if you have not had the opportunity to work in the instruction section, or if you're looking for the opportunity to be a team player or take on a leadership role, or grow in an area that you would like to be challenged in, instruction section might be a good opportunity for you. There's a lot of different committees, as Susanna mentioned earlier, and there's a lot of opportunity to grow, not just in information literacy instruction, but also in management and leadership, and working in teams in particular. Anything else? I think that's about it for me. Thanks, guys.
Hey, hi everybody, this is Bill Condon, and I am going to provide you a brief overview of some of the resources that are available to stay up to date with instruction and the profession, resources to actively engage with other members, and then finally some more professional support resources. The first thing I want to point your attention to is the instruction section website, which is acrl.ala.org/is, or you can just go the easier route and Google it. Mm-hmm. And it has a great collection of material to help you keep up to date with instruction. A lot of these are passive resources, so you can visit them when you have time. You can stay informed, read about trends and practices such as active learning or student-centered learning. Also on the website, you'll see the featured member spotlight, where a instruction librarian is interviewed about their practice and if they're doing anything innovative. So that's a great resource if you're looking for innovative techniques to use in the classroom, and you can feel free to contact the librarian who is being interviewed. And that's posted on both the IS blog and the IS newsletter, which are both hyperlinked in this. And then it's also shared on ALA Connect, which is you can find on your ALA account. So if you go to the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about how to engage with members. You don't have to be on a committee to actively engage with other members. ALA Connect is a great place to start the discussion pages. All you have to do is log into your ALA account and then click on Communities, which is the second tab over. And you could scroll through the list to see what kind of discussions are going on. It displays all the committees you're involved with. You can read meeting agendas and minutes from the different committees and subcommittees. Those are all posted there, and any other info that's shared. The next thing down the list is the ILI listserv. It's one of the most active listservs that I am involved with. It has a great community. It has a lot of opportunities to become involved in committees or subcommittees, task force, etc. People share new research. You could read about problems or issues that other people are trying to solve in their libraries. You'll see job opportunities posted there, and then any other news from the IS section. And then finally, you have other social media sites such as Facebook and Twitter. Very active on those sites. You can look at different hashtags like CritLit and things like that on Twitter to find the conversation. And then the next slide, we're going to talk about some of the resources for professional support. So again, on the IS website, if you look on the tabs, the first one is instruction, or the second one, I'm sorry, after join us, is instruction tools and resources. And the first link under there is pedagogy, which is a list of resources such as information literacy in the disciplines, which is maintained by the Information Literacy in the Disciplines Committee. This is a great resource if you want to talk to other faculty and other disciplines about information literacy. You can read up on their own standards and make connections that way. Another link on there is to Primo, which is another IS committee that was talked about, which is peer-reviewed instruction material online. I practice saying that all day long. They maintain a database of peer-reviewed instructional materials that people submit when they and then they get reviewed and selected. There's a site of the month where the people who are responsible for the website are interviewed and talk about their pedagogy. Another link under there is technology. One of the interesting things is the 5 things you should read about, which is developed by IS's Research and Scholarship Committee, which is just a yearly collection of articles, interviews, podcasts, etc. about instruction. So these are all great resources for you to use, get involved with the different committees. I use these a lot, especially when I'm teaching in a new discipline. I could jump into the framework or sandbox or the Primo and find some information. And then finally, on the instruction tools and resources are archived IS webinars. So they're available for you to access and view on your own time. So feel free to explore the site and let us know if you have any questions.
Okay, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them into the chat box and we will address them. And a reminder to make sure that in the chat box you select all panelists and attendees to address the question.
This is Susanna. Do you mind if I just add something real quick to what Nikhat had said about volunteering?
Please go ahead.
Sure. So we really do encourage each of you, if you're interested in serving on one of our committees, to volunteer. As the person who did the volunteer appointments last year, what I can say is you're much more likely to get an appointment if you choose more than one committee to volunteer for, because oftentimes we'll have, 60 people volunteer for one of the more, shall we say, fun or sexy sounding committees with only a handful for the others. So, and I certainly didn't want to just appoint someone to a committee that they didn't necessarily volunteer for. But again, long story short, if you volunteer for more than one committee, you're much more likely to be able to be placed into one of our various committees. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Also, if anyone came in late and you're surprised at how quickly we got through the information, don't worry. If you go to the IS website and look at archived webinars, this webinar will be placed on there shortly.
We do have one question. Do you have to be a member of ALA to become a member of ACRL?
I mean, I'll take that one. Yes, you do.
And I was just looking at the membership. I think for ALA, it's like $135 per membership. And then to become a ACRL section or division member, I think it's another 60 on top of that. It's somewhere around there.
I will add, again, we always are looking for people to join. We want to add members, but I will say that most, if not all, of the content we create, the webinars that we have, are open to anyone. So if it's something that someone can't afford this year, but might look into next year or the year after, that's wonderful, and we want you to do that, but we also want you to take advantage of anything that we are offering now, whether you're a member or not.
I'll just add to my experience kind of becoming familiar with instruction section and gradually working up to volunteering for a committee is that I found it was really useful for me before I started volunteering to participate in the mentoring program. So I had someone who was in New York, I'm in Kansas, and she took time out of, I think we emailed once or twice a month, and she would just answer my questions about not only instruction section, but my career and my research and my teaching. And I would really recommend, if you're a little hesitant about volunteering straight out of the gate, if you're new to IS or you're an early career librarian, that's a really great way to kind of get a lay of the land and network a little bit and get some advice. And my mentor actually gave me that great advice that Susanna just shared with you about volunteering for more than one committee and realizing that maybe we are not all going to be put on like the illustrious committee, that the one committee that everybody wants to be on, but to be flexible and willing to work with other committees. And I found it really rewarding because you get to kind of see the inner workings of IS in a lot of ways. And you become more familiar with IS, and you just get to meet a lot of folks across the country, at least virtually, if you don't bump into them in real life. But you get to meet a great mix of folks who have a common interest with you and really care about instruction and care about education and can trade tips with you and help you through your daily life. So when we say service, it sounds like we're just giving, but I think that working with instruction section, you actually get a lot in return for your time.
There's another question. What kind of time commitment does the committee work involve? Are there opportunities for those of us who can't travel as often to attend conferences too? And that was from Janice.
I think that'll vary depending on the committee you're assigned to or you apply to. So once you look up some of the descriptions of each of the committees, they'll tell you what kind of workload there is. And if you have questions about that, you can always email the chairs. Susanna, do you want to add anything else to that?
Sure. I agree. It depends on the committee. It also depends on, like some will have a lot to do, which, like what their actual tasks are. For example, I mentioned the awards committee. Almost all of their work is done between essentially September and January. So after that, there's nothing. For others, you might do several hours every single month. What I will also mention about opportunities for those who can't travel, in the instruction section is now a completely virtual section. There are no requirements to travel. There are no requirements to attend any conferences at all. The work that we do, everything we do is online. So no need to travel to conferences unless you want to do so on your own. But again, for the most part, it depends on the committee. I would say most aren't more than a couple of hours every month. Thank you for asking the question, Janice.
And I'll just add to Susanna's really good explanation is that one thing I've noticed too is that we're all interested in instruction. So all of our schedules are kind of ebbing and flowing with the instructional schedule at our institutions. And so I've noticed in particular that committees are really mindful and good and accommodating about people's work schedules. And so I think it's really common for committees to say, okay, we know the beginning part of the semester is going to be really busy for everyone. So we're going to kind of make that load on this committee lighter then, and we'll do more heavy lifting toward the end of the semester. And so I think people are really considerate and of each other because we're all kind of in the same boat.
Any other comments from the panel as we wait for any other questions that might come in?
I can talk about how I got involved with the instruction section.
Great.
I actually started back in, I think, 2003, and hate to say that number out loud, but I'll do it anyway. And one of my colleagues was involved with the instruction section, and he suggested a committee that he was chairing conveniently. That worked out nicely, and I applied for that committee, and I think I worked on that. I think it was Instruction for Diverse Populations. I worked on that committee. No, surprisingly not. The name a colleague just messaged me. One of my former colleagues at the University of Kansas, Karna. And he suggested IDP, and I think I was involved with that for a little over 2 or 3 years. And I vaguely remember, and I'm not officially remembering, that I ended up becoming the chair of that committee. And then I worked on the mentoring committee for a couple of years and another task force. And I literally had to open my CV to look that up. And after that, I somehow got asked to run for member at large. And I did, and I was elected. And took a step back from instruction section for a couple of years while I was in grad school again. And then I got another email asking to run for vice chair. And that's my short story. Let me know if you have questions, especially if you're interested in running for leadership within an instruction section.
So I have a question for everyone on the panel. Do you feel like the instruction section is kind of your home within ALA and ACRL, or are you actively involved in other sections, and how do you balance that?
So this is Susanna. I'll say for me, when I first joined the instruction section, which was right around the time when Nikhat also joined, we're kind of contemporaries, so it was probably around 2002 or 2003. I was also a member of LERT at the time, and maybe one other thing, I think with the women's studies section. In the years since instruction section has become my ALA/ACRL home, it's like where I've really put most, if not all, of my my service efforts. And a lot like Nikhat, I mean, I started on the communications committee. I became the website co-administrator when they needed someone. I was on policy and publications review committee. I don't even know if it exists anymore. I was a member at large. I was on the professional education. I was on nominating award. Basically, I was that person who would just say, put me on anything. I'll do whatever you want to do. And as such, I was able to kind of get a wider perspective of everything that we did. And then I took a couple of years off and then was approached to run. So back to your original question, it has become my home, but I did, at the beginning there, I did try a couple of other things out because I didn't really know what I was doing or what I wanted to do. But ultimately, this kind of became my my ACRL home base.
I also got involved with the ACRL mentoring committee, the EJ Josie, I can't remember the rest of the title, it's lengthy. Their Spectrum Scholars Mentoring Committee, there we go. And I'm currently the chair for that, but I will be concluding my service with them at the end of this June. So, and then I'm not taking on any other service for a little while.
I'll add that I am involved with another section in ACRL, which I will not name. I like it and it's great and everything, but I found that within instruction section, within the committees, there's a lot more structure for me. And that structure allows me to learn the organization and to meet other people, and it kind of scaffolds the responsibility of instruction section and the service work. Whereas the other section, I really enjoy the work, but I felt like I was kind of thrown in the deep end pretty quickly. So for me, instruction section is a bit homier because I had this gradual introduction to it. And I think that that's kind of what a lot of folks have experienced is you start here and you move over there and you kind of experience different aspects of instruction section. And within the committees too, you won't be assigned to a leadership position immediately. Like you wouldn't be chair of the committee your first year or something, that you would have a position where you could kind of learn more about the committee before you would be given an opportunity to step up and take a stronger load or role. And I think that that's what has made me really appreciate instruction section.
Awesome, thank you. Well, no other questions came in, so I think we can end early.
Well, thank you all so much for being here, the participants and our panelists. We just appreciate you so much. And if there's any other questions, my email, this is Karna. My email's right there on the screen. It's just my first name, Karna, K-A-R-N, as in Nancy, A, @ku.edu. I'm happy to answer any questions. And if I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. I'll find the person who does know for you. So thank you all so much.
And I'm gonna, this is Susanna again. I'm gonna put my email address into the chat right now. Do feel free to contact myself or Nikhat if you have questions about volunteering or about anything at all. And thanks so much for coming and being interested. And I look forward to hopefully working with you at some point.
Guys, adding my email address as well.
Thank you both.